Fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff!
When writing a story, before you even get a chance to stick the landing, you need to nail the takeoff. Also, don't crash anytime during the flight. That part's important. Yeah, it's a tough gig being a story pilot. Not as tough as being an actual pilot though. For authors, there aren't generally any lives at stake. So, how do you start your story in a way that hooks readers right through the cheek so they can't escape, or even better, don't want to escape? Some say start where things get interesting. Makes sense. Some say start specifically with action. I mean, the action thing can work if it suits the story, but most readers don't want to be thrown into a washing machine of pure chaos on the first page without damn good reason. And some stories work best with a build up before something overtly interesting happens. The first line doesn't need to be, "The dragon's coming!" In fact, at this point, readers probably don't care that the dragon's coming. They don't know the implications. Setting a scene that conveys why the dragon coming is bad first might make more sense. What are the consequences of a dragon coming? Anyway, if the interesting stuff happens in the afternoon, we probably don't need to start with your protagonist's morning routine. He woke up, he stretched, he yawned, he sat up in bed, he peeled back the blankets, he swung 1 foot, 2 feet down to the carpeted bedroom floor, he stood. Unless it's an American Psycho situation, you can skip all the tedious details and start somewhere relevant. Consider your overall story and where readers would most likely want to be dropped in. It'll vary depending on what you're writing and who you're writing for. However you start your story, you need to give readers something to grab onto, something compelling enough to make them want to keep reading. It doesn't have to be a tense action scene. It could be a tidbit of curious information that catches their interest and compels them to want to learn more. What will make your readers care enough to invest time into reading your novel? Hey, it's a big ask. One example of a fairly uneventful opening that inspires intrigue is Tim Powers' Declare. The protagonist is in the middle of an odd phone call, you don't know what's going on, it's almost like he's got something wrong with him, maybe he does, maybe that's the hook. The person on the phone gives him 4 names, you don't know who they are, what they mean, and it's implied this same phone call happens once a decade but nothing ever comes of it. Anyway, it's far from an engaging action scene, he's in a college office or something, but it gives enough and raises enough questions to compel you, by you I mean me, to keep turning pages. You know something's up and you want to be in on the secret. Great way to start a story. Your opening should also set the tone of the overall novel. You don't want to mislead readers and trick them into reading something they're not into. Ideally, they should know by the end of the first chapter, even the first few pages, whether it's their thing or not. Didn't read it, not my thing, is much better than I got halfway through and quit. To quit reading a novel halfway through after putting in all that time and effort, it's like kicking out a house guest in the middle of the night. What could they have done? Did they take a big old dump on your favourite armchair? Don't take a figurative dump on your reader's furniture. While established authors can get away with a less hooky opening, trust me, it gets better. Only works if you already have a bunch of loyal readers willing to say it. Nowadays, any random person can read a sample of your novel online, assuming you aren't an anti-Amazon rebel, and you need to hook them in good and fast. Hey, it's catch and release here. Yes, you're pulling them out of their safe, familiar waters, but then you're tossing them back with a story for their troubles. Pretty humane if you ask me.